Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN. And we got ESPN college football analyst David Pollack on the line. He's joining us on behalf of Powerade. Through the Power Your School program, Powerade is looking to give young athletes a chance to earn a share of $1 million for their schools. David, how you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful, man. How you doing?
Good, man. So let's first get into this Powerade program before we get to the college football topics. You know, Powerade's got a really cool program here. You know, this is an opportunity for local high schools, and we got a lot of local high schools in our area here in South Jersey that can get in on this program. So tell the audience a little bit about this program and why you got involved in it.
This program is awesome, and I think anybody that played, I played in the pros, I played in college, and high school was by far my best experience and the most fun. And there's a lot of high schools across the country that have experienced budget cuts, and you'll see it, and they don't have the best facilities. And if you share a written or video essay at Powerade.com, basically, we're going to give you money. So, yes, please. Tell us why you need what you need at your school, and tell us what you're missing. And we're loving to have the ability to plug in and make the experience better for the high school athletes and the kids across the country.
Contest entries must be submitted no later than midnight Eastern on September 30th of this year. Each entrant is limited to one submission per day. For a complete list of contest rules, visit Powerade.com. David, you mentioned you played at the college level, you played at the pro level. You were a consensus All-American at the University of Georgia. I want to ask you, starting off going off with this Josh Rosen situation, a lot of stuff he said in that Bleacher Report interview, it's clickbait. Let's be realistic. The kid's just having an honest conversation, and some people in the media are just kind of misconstruing it to make it more than it is. But I think the one statement that stood out to me was he mentioned saying that it's like having two full-time jobs. And you're a guy who actually played at the highest level of college football. Do you believe that what he says, that it is two full-time jobs, or do you think that he's exaggerating that?
I think it's a little bit exaggerated. I'll say this: it's not easy to balance it, but there's also kids in school right now that are getting full-time jobs that are paying for the tuition, and they might have one or two jobs. And so I think that's also extremely difficult, but there's rules in place to limit the number of hours that you spend at the building. We have a lot of tutoring. Our bills are taken care of, so we have a lot of built-in advantages. I understand what Josh is saying. I don't necessarily agree. And the bigger aspect is when you talk about school, here's the thing, too. 99.9% of those kids aren't going to the NFL. So don't tell me that, you don't need to focus on school and, you're just thinking about the NFL. There's a million kids across the country that are thinking about the NFL, but if you're not getting schooling, then you're not going to – then what's your backup plan? What are you going to do when you get cut? And that doesn't come to fruition. So, listen, he's allowed to speak his mind. I'm not crushing the kid at all. I just disagree with some of the things he said.
Do you think there's sometimes a disconnect when it comes to college athletics because we see so much of the football on TV and the basketball TV, and we forget that there's hundreds of other athletes on scholarship as well, sports like gymnastics and soccer and other sports. It seems like we focus so much on just the football and the basketball college athletes. We forget that there are tons of other athletes who have to juggle school and their sport as well.
Absolutely. And, it's not, I'm not saying it's easy, but, the good thing about football players is with us is we have tutors. We have so much help of people that come in and try to make your life a little bit easier with the rigorous schedule. But there's plenty of people across the country that have to balance their schedules and their work and their school and have to do internships while they're in school and all this stuff that make life hard. So I think all of us have those struggles and those things that they're going to have to deal with.
We're talking with ESPN college football analyst David Pollack. He's here on behalf of Powerade's Power Your School program. Visit Powerade.com. David, you were a defensive end at the University of Georgia. You were a three-time All-American. Your former coach, Mark Richt, is now at Miami. Talk about what you've seen from him at Miami and what you're expecting from the Hurricanes this season.
Well, he's definitely a different dude. And I say that because I think anytime you stay in one place, you kind of get used to your surroundings and you get kind of, I'm not going to say complacent, but you just get, everything's very comfortable. And when you're out of your comfort zone and you're forced to go do something different, I think it causes you to reevaluate things. And I think he's got a bigger chip on his shoulder, and I think he's doing a really good job of recruiting in Miami. They had a pretty good first season. They're really good except for at the quarterback spot this year. So I expect them to do really well, but I expect Coach Richt to have a lot of success in Miami. He's done a good job of corralling all the old players and, getting them involved in recruiting and running camps. And so I think that Coach Richt and the Hurricanes have some bright days ahead.
Speaking of guys with quarterbacks, I think JT Barrett is getting a little overlooked. When Vegas came out for their odds for Heisman Trophy guys, he wasn't even on most of these Vegas projections. Do you think we're overlooking JT Barrett at Ohio State? Because I think he's got the potential to have a great year this year.
Well, I completely agree with you. Yes, we are overlooking him. We're overlooking him because we saw the shutout, the goose egg, the nastiness that was on display against Clemson in the bowl game, in the college football playoff. Here's what I'll say. The JT Barrett of a couple years ago with Tom Herman was sensational. The JT Barrett this year with Kevin Wilson, I think will look more like the one that he had with Tom Herman. I think, Urban Meyer's got to the point in his career where he's about the team and keeping them motivated. He's not involved in the offense as much, and he's not going to be calling plays and all that good stuff. So I think you got to have a guy like Kevin Wilson that can do it, and he's one of the best in the country at calling plays, at scoring points. So I think JT Barrett will have a sensational year.
You mentioned Tom Herman. He's the new head coach at Texas. Lincoln Riley, the new man at Oklahoma. A very different look for the Big 12 this year. Talk about what it's going to be like to have two of the powerhouses of college football have fresh faces this year.
It'll be fun. Tom Herman inherits a lot of talent, as does Lincoln Riley. They inherit a lot of pedigree. They inherit a lot of people that have done it before in the past in that spot, and a big fan base, a lot of money, a lot of resources. So I think both of them are very young. I think both of them are exceptionally bright. I think both of them are really good. I think Tom Herman has proven it more from a head coaching standpoint, and I love his energy, his love for his players, the way he speaks to them, the way he holds them accountable, the way he loves them. It's unique. It's refreshing. We're going to see Lincoln Riley, and now when he gets to run it his way and do things his way and how players respond. But his team is set up for success with one of the better offensive lines in college football, with one of the better quarterbacks in college football. That's definitely a good place to start your first season off.
We're talking with ESPN's college football analyst David Pollack here as part of Powerade's Power Your School program. Visit Powerade.com for your opportunity to enter to win $1 million for your school. David, we're in Big Ten country here. We got Rutgers up north here in New Jersey, and we got a lot of Penn State alumni in this area. Penn State, a great season last year. They got the quarterback back. They got the running back returning as well. What are your expectations for Penn State in the Big Ten this year?
I expect Penn State to have a great season and to be very much in contention to win the Big Ten. Now, it'll be a little bit different because they have to go to Columbus this year, which, the whiteout, the night whiteout scene, I don't think people across college football fully appreciate that. That's one of the best scenes. It's unbelievable, one of the best atmospheres. So you don't have that at home this year. But when you talked about Penn State, you need to start with Saquon Barkley, not Trace McSorley. Trace McSorley is really good. Saquon Barkley is the best player in college football, period. I mean, if you're asking me to pick one guy, that's the guy. I mean, big, strong, fast, quick, elusive, can catch the ball, can run the ball. He is the definition of making everybody better around him. I mean, he makes the quarterback better. He makes the receivers better. He makes the O-line, which is not a great unit, look really, really good. If Penn State's defense progresses and gets a little bit better, which I think they will, and that offense and Saquon stays healthy, they have a chance to beat every single person they play on their schedule.
Real quick before I let you go, so you're saying that he's better than the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, Lamar Jackson?
1,000,000%. I would take Saquon Barkley over anybody in the country if I was starting a team.
Wow. Well, that's coming high praise from you. You're a guy who played at the highest level in college football. He is ESPN college football analyst David Pollack here on 97.3 ESPN, part of Powerade's Power Your School program. This fall, a total of 500 schools will be awarded a share of $1 million in funding, helping to preserve the playing fields that often serve as an extension of the classroom. Visit Powerade.com to submit. David, appreciate the time today.